Here we are back with episode 18 of G-Witch. We didn't get a proper episode last week, instead getting an episode 13 to 17 recap on Japan's Gundam YouTube channel, which isn't available, at least in the North American region, unless you use a VPN. Crunchyroll didn't pick it up either, so here we are. I was going to recap the recap, but instead built this real great Galgaigar. Solid kit, highly recommend. In any case, let's get into the episode. The episode is called Our Empty Selves, and interestingly starts out with Suletta engulfed in class, learning about permit before cutting to her pilot training with those Haro drones. The other students in Earth House talk about Suletta, mentioning how cheerful she is despite losing her holder title and the aerial to Guel. It looks like Suletta is coping with the situation by engulfing herself in her school life, and is going through her bucket list at the same time. I'm honestly happy to see this, despite her obviously forcing herself. The other students show concern, as they believe she can't actually be this okay. We then get the opening. After the opening, we get Guel asking for support for the company. He gets criticized, with the suits telling him that financing would be pointless if he can't meet his goals, even if he is the son of Vimja Turk. They end the call abruptly, frustrating Guel. Mio is with him while Prospera is on a video call. Prospera says if he needs a track record to prove, to show the mobile suit his company hasn't announced yet. Apparently Vimja Turk was working on it before he died, and wanted to go into drone business with Shinsei before they got acquired by Mio. This frustrates Mio, and she tells off Prospera and Guel to tell her about such things. Guel didn't know until recently, but Prospera says it happened before Gundam Inc. acquired Shinsei. The new mobile suit is actually a Gundam, a concept model called the Schwarzette. This'll definitely be Guel's new Gundam, after he repaints it red of course. Prospera proposes to announce it as a joint project between Gundam and Jaturk to promote their partnership to the rest of the group. Mio rejects this idea, as she doesn't want Gundam to be associated with mobile suit development, and instead medical purposes. Prospera reminds Mio that to win the presidential race, she will need some sort of track record to gain support. Mio knows this, and asks where Prospera even is. Apparently she's at Grassley House, and they wanted to chat with her, which shocks Mio. We then cut to the aerial getting worked on. Belmeria is assisting, and asks what a mobile suit she found on file is. It's a Gund bit in a mobile suit form called the Gund node, and is kinda like the Gund Volva. Its purpose is to increase Ariel's data storm network, while also providing general support and information. Since it's a Gund bit, I wonder how many they're going to produce for the Ariel, but more on that at the end of the video. We then see Prospera talking with Shadiq. He wants her cooperation in using Shinsei's Gundarm technology as part of the group's core business. She points out that Grassley has been a denier of Gundams, but Shadiq wants to restore the credibility of Grassley as soon as possible, no matter the means. Prospera says if they wanted a Gundam, they should have grabbed one of the ones from the open campus attack. However, it seems they had self-destruct protocols in place. She mentions even a damaged one would be beneficial. However, she also questions if recovering one would inconvenience them in some way. Before Shadiq could respond, Mio and Guel show up. Guel asks what he's up to, trying to deal with one of Mio's subsidiaries behind her back. He says he's just enlisting companies to support his election as president. Apparently Mio didn't know Shadiq was running, and he now has to work at other meets since their marriage didn't pan out. He also mentions he got Pale Technologies support while Guel and Suletta were dueling. Now Mio's opponents are two of the three branches, and tells her the election is in 2 weeks. Next we get Suletta working in Mio's garden. Chuchu is there too, and asks if she's mad at Mio, mentioning that she's succeeding the father she hated while throwing her aside for Guel. Suletta says Mio did nothing wrong, and that it was her fault she couldn't keep her promise to not lose. She also says it was foolish to think she was a match for her. Then Lauda, Petra, and Felsi show up asking how long Suletta is going to be hanging around. That Guel now has the holder title and Mio, and that nobody needs Suletta now. This angers Chuchu, and she squares up to him, however he doesn't want to fight. Instead thanking her for saving him during the open campus attack before leaving. Suletta says Lauda is right, that she didn't have anything to begin with while calling herself the holder and the groom, while saying it was all a mistake. Chuchu has had enough, and says they're going to see Mio. Cutting to Earth House, most of the group is going to the head office except Martin, since he's still injured and someone needs to make sure they don't get vandalized again. Suletta keeps saying she's fine, however Chuchu wants her to speak her mind to Mio. Till mentions how Chuchu has changed, and that she usually chooses fists instead of words. Chuchu says she thought what Nika would do and went with that. They head out, and then we get a scene with Noria, Elin 5, and Nika. Elin asks what Noria is drawing, though she acts cold towards him. He says not to worry about them, and that he hasn't told anyone about Grassley and Donna Fold being connected. Nika asks if he really is Elin, and that he just comes out and says he's a different person from the one they all knew before, which I find pretty funny. He's really carefree with their little group, and their dynamics are great. We then see Elin talking with Nugan from Pale Technologies. They're looking at the presidential race support breakdown between Shadiq and Mio, with Shadiq quite a bit ahead, 81% to 19%. On Shadik's side, 43% is from Grassley Defense Systems, 36% is from Pale Technologies, and 21% from other groups. Mio has 88% from Delling's base of support and 12% from others. Elin says they should have nominated him as a candidate. However, Nugan says the Pale grade has passed its judgment and that he is not ready, giving support to Shadik instead. Apparently, the company uses an AI to determine its company's leaders. The one who got the top grade was the real Aelin Karis. Turns out, they cloned him not only so they could be used to win duels in his place, but also guinea pigs to master the Gundam technology. The enhanced persons are made with resistance to data storms, though they can still die. He laments this, but he does question Suletta and Ariel again, that she's the odd one being able to pilot Ariel with zero issues. Noria remarks that he runs his mouth a lot, and he asks if she has any reason to pilot a Gundam. She says she doesn't, but he responds with her being hollow inside, so she tells herself it's for the Earthians' sake. This angers Noria, and she attempts to kill him right there. She says she wants to kill all Spatians without any other reason needed. He says she doesn't want to pilot a Gundam either, and that they should be honest with each other since both of their lives are cheap. We then cut to Shadik selling off some assets for cheap. The ones that stand out to me are Earth companies being the first to go. And now mentions the transferring of businesses going well. Shadik says the companies don't suspect a thing, with Anao saying she'll file a report to the Space Assembly League. We then see Guel, Prospera, and Mio discussing their position in the race. Shadik is way ahead in support, while Mio is concerned that he partnered with Pale Technologies. Prospera offers a hint to Mio, and turns on a TV broadcast from Earth. With the tensions between Earth and space corporations worsening, Mio suggests trying to calm down the situation. If she can stop the riots, she may gain more support as a result. Prospera says she would have to have a show of force to negotiate on even terms. Mio decides to use Ariel, but follow the school's regulations and without bringing any weapons. She wants to demonstrate the principles by saving lives without any real fighting. Shadik gets word of this, and we see some of the other students talking about how cool Guel is, with Lauda overhearing them. We then see Fang and Gustan from the Space Assembly League taking in Belmeria for questioning. Next, Martin is confessing to Aharo about turning Nika in, with Cecilia listening in from behind it. We then see Mio and Guel talking to Rahan. He seems annoyed and tells her that he's said to use her own judgment, referring to their previous talk about doing what she wants instead of her father. However, she's going through with it anyway. He offers more security, and Kananji from Dominicus will assist. Another quick cut to Earth House arriving at the head office. However, the Haro denies them as they don't have an appointment. Prospera gets word of this, and looks like Ari wants to see Suletta too. Earth House sees Suletta off, and she makes her way through the ominously dark hangar. She finds Ariel, beckoning her in. They head out into space, and her gun bits start circling Ariel. Suletta says she was worried that she'd never see Ariel again, and that Mio didn't need her anymore since she broke her promise. She seems really concerned about this, despite it being out of her control since Mio was the one that hit the shutdown switch to begin with. Still, Suletta never used that as an excuse for losing, and despite all that, moved forward, just like her mom said to. We finally see Suletta going through her thoughts, about not knowing what to do now that she isn't the holder. She still enjoys being at school with her friends, but it still hurts not being able to see Mio. She also starts to doubt being able to move forward in Game 2, a line she has always kept close. We then see Ariel deploy a data storm, pulling Suletta into some kind of memory. Interestingly, Ari gives a date, Mercurian year 154, day 63. This, however, is a different date structure from the universal one, Ad Stella, with the current year being only 122. Ari goes on about winning a game against Suletta called Digging King, with a score of 6-4. Suletta cried and wanted a rematch, with her mom giving her hot cocoa and a honey-flavored candy. Ariel's heating unit was damaged, so Suletta held up her hot cocoa to the cockpit, saying it would help warm her up. Suletta wonders why Ariel looks just like her, which implies that Suletta has never actually been inside of Ariel before, and never actually talked to her directly. We actually know this from the Cradle Planet novel. I have a video going over that if you're interested. Link in the description. Ari goes on about not needing the key anymore, who is Suletta. Ari can only live inside the data storm, so Suletta filled in for her. Her physical form, her body, her arms and legs, her extended consciousness. Ari refers to them as the Children of the Coven, which, if you didn't know, a coven is a group of witches. Who I'm assuming is the original Ari talking, says they are replicated children made from her genes. The other Aries go on to say Quiet Zero will make a world where Ari can live, and that they don't need Suletta anymore. She then gets hit with Permit, and we see Ari and Elnora in the cockpit of the Lafrith, with Suletta outside in a cradle as a baby. Honestly, this scene is a bit confusing, but I'll go over it deeper at the end of the video. Ari explains that with her Permit score being 8, she no longer needs a pilot. Suletta cries out, however Ari kicks her out of the Ariel. Prospera appears and Suletta asks if something is wrong with Ariel. She tells Suletta it's as Ari says, and tells her to return to the school. as it'll fill her heart. Prospera then hops in Ariel and takes off, leaving Suletta to cry in space. They dock the Ariel, with Prospera asking if Ari is sure about what they've done. We see Ariel respond, with Prospera agreeing that Suletta should live free. We then get the ending. Okay, so this episode had quite a bit going on, especially by the end there, so let's get through some major points. Guel and Mio look like they're doing well in their business ventures, and it looks like Jeturk Heavy Machinery has been working on their own Gundam behind the scenes called the Short Set. It's a concept model, but will definitely be developed further into Guel's own Gundam. Ideally without the curse being an issue. Won't be complete without the red paint job, of course. While the Ariel is being worked on, one upgrade it will be getting is the Gund node, which is basically a take on the Gund Volvas we saw earlier. These will be used specifically for expanding the data storm network of the Ariel, while also giving general support in offense and defense. They do come with a beam rifle and blade, so they'll be combat ready. Given there were multiple Gund Volvas, there will probably be multiple Gund nodes. As a fun thing to do, drop a comment with how many you think there will be, and on the video they appear in, I'll feature your comment in that section of the video. I'm guessing 11, since there are 11 Aries in the Ariel. We also got a bit more information on Elin. The real Elin Karis is still around apparently, and the clones were made to further the development of their Gundam without the real Elin dying. Despite the clones being resistant to the data storms, they can still die easily to it. They should reclone Elin 4 to be honest, he was great. As for the presidential race, I can't wait to see Mio close that huge gap rather quickly. Since Benneret Group is abusing their security measures, and Mio wants to quell the fighting without fighting, I can see her getting major Earth support. Not sure how much that'll mean, but hey, it's something. I also foresee something terrible happening, such as the riots being a bit too chaotic and ending up getting someone killed, changing her whole perspective. Everything we've seen relating to Earth has sparked death, so I don't expect that to be any different once they get down there. A few minor points. Belmeria got taken in by the Space Assembly League, and Martin had a run-in with Cecilia. These are really short scenes, so I'm looking forward to what happens with them later on. Lastly, the Airy business. The data storm sequence was a bit confusing at first, but after going through it a few times, I think I understand what exactly happened. Suletta is an Airy clone, however she was made as the key. That is to say, a physical fill-in for Ariel, the pilot and consciousness. Given the time of this, Suletta is probably the first clone, since she needed to get to piloting age as soon as possible. The rest were throwaways to perhaps raise the permit score up to 8, at which point Suletta wasn't needed anymore since Area is now fully autonomous. They may not have known if it could become controlled just by Eri at any point, but upon hitting score 8, found out it was possible. Eri, Prospera, and just about everyone involved with Suletta want the best for her, but they completely stripped away her agency as a person and never considered her feelings and what she wanted to do. This goes back to what Chuchu told Suletta to do earlier in the episode. Chuchu wanted Suletta to tell Mio what's on her mind, and honestly she needs to tell everyone what's on her mind, what she wants to do. Earlier in the episode she was cheerfully engulfing herself in her school life to cope, but after this she may not be able to do so. All in all, a great episode, as we got some important questions answered. Let me know what you thought about the episode, and drop your guess on how many gun nodes will be produced for the Ariel. If you like Gundam and mecha in general, consider subscribing to the channel, as it's the best way to support it right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.